Welcome to the episode of The Classroom. Wow, very tired. That's gone really weird. Welcome to episode, I think, 7 now of The Classroom, which is awesome. We had 2 episodes last week. The official episode, which we did our all-star drafts in, and we'll sort of recap that today. And then we also had our bonus and one session, which we had our friends and mates from the University of Brighton chatting about our time playing basketball together. And the response we had from both were mad. I think the pictures that we were able to put out of our teams and getting sort of a combined likeage of about 600 likes. The comments we've had about the University of Brighton basketball. I've had messages of people going asking like how they get into basketball, how to get to university and play basketball. So it's really been some nice content to see and some positive messages. So that's a credit to you guys as well. Introduction time. Unfortunately, I didn't get the memo about the home kit this week. I must have missed that message. I'm rocking a Brooklyn Nets, and the thing about this is a jersey that came out the year they became the Brooklyn Nets. So it's not me jumping on any bandwagon. I've got Darren Williams on the back here. I've had this for years. Boys that have seen me train and play, I trained in this jersey probably every other week.
I've worn that jersey on dozens of occasions as well.
So like there's no bandwagon, nothing like that. This is as old as you like. It's an Adidas jersey as well, which sums up. It's not a Nike one or anything new. So it's Darren Williams. This was that year, and I remember I got it. My nan got it for me for Christmas because I was buzzing about the sort of the black and the white. You can see with the frills, it's gone a bit weird. So this is no bandwagon jersey, definitely not a bandwagon jumper. But yes, there's a Brooklyn Nets, Darren Williams, number 8 jersey, and I've definitely balled out in this so many times as a joke. I'm going down to Corey. How are you doing this week? How would you feel about last week and all that?
Yeah, I'm mentally preparing and financially preparing for the L's that I've taken. It's going to be expensive end of season doing it.
I think for you at the moment, definitely.
And the worst thing about it was I even called it as well. 2, I would have had 4 if I'd have just stuck with my original choices. But I was like, no, don't try and think out the box. Just go for the answer. I thought straight inside the box and lost. So it was on L.
The thing is, it was very tight, and I know we'll get into it later. It was a very tight competition. I think a lot of the comps on Sunday could have gone any way. I've rewatched a lot of them, other than one, which was just unfair. JP, I'm going to come to you. How are you doing? How's your week?
Mate. I'm good, especially from our first episode of last week where you both were trying to be tactician, trying to be strategic. I somehow pulled out the bag with my own research and, it seemed to work out on Sunday night, which I'm really happy with.
Hold on, you can't claim the dub for that. We had 2 big scorers missing from that game.
Mate, I can't. I'm so glad you said that.
D-Book wouldn't have got minutes.
Because we missed 12 points. So we lost by 12 points in the end. And for those that are watching, we did our tallying our teams and their points. And JP and Wayne, who's not here again because of work, shout out to Wayne for that. Like as busy as he can be, he's got a lot on, and we learned that from Friday night. We were down. We lost by 16 points in the end, something like ridiculous like that. Not even that. 12 points.
It was 12. Yeah,
it was 12.
1-6-6-1-5-4. Yeah.
Yeah, and from that, yes, you had D-Book missing. Okay, and I went on the averages of players. I know that's not a great shout at the moment, but you're looking at the averages. We had Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Okay, their combined scoring average is more than, and the difference between them and D-Book is more than 12 points. But even if you add in where the assist, take away the point Simmons gets and add in the assist that he gets, we still would have won. I'm 100% sure.
Yeah, Joel Embiid was a 30-point All-Star gamer.
Definitely.
He was hitting he would be hitting threes. He'd be posting people up. He'd be around the rim. And what did we replace him with? Mike Conley.
Yeah, but that's the problem. It's a domino effect. So if Embiid would have started, obviously, if he was fit and because of the COVID protocol, it's a domino effect, and people off your bench probably wouldn't have scored much. It's all a matter of what ifs and buts. But obviously.
You're absolutely nitpicking at that. We know full well that if we had Embiid and Simmons, we're smoking you. You know it.
Ball don't lie.
Mate, look, I've got our team breakdown here, and LeBron got 4, Steph 28, Tatum 21, Kawhi 8. Okay, and then we had Embiid start, but then Zion came in and started and got 10. Zion coming off the bench would have got 10 anyway. That's no domino
And
effect,
he missed 4 dunks.
You then look. LeBron barely played any minutes. Okay, he didn't play many minutes. That's
but for 4 points as a starter, that's pretty poor. Come on.
Yeah, that's the point. As a starter, he wasn't. He was playing rotation minutes. He didn't care the whole second half.
In the All-Star game, who plays defense? Like, it's a free-for-all. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but you got to be on the court to score the points.
And who on your team,
he wasn't on the court.
Who on your team is stopping Simmons or Joel Embiid? No one.
Giannis. So let me break this down. Let me break this down for you then. So our tactic going into that kind of strategy of when we found out we were going to do, all right, we're going to do 2 teams, combine the points together. So I went to Wayne and was like, we're going to need people that are tryhards. And out from experience, the main 2 are Giannis and Kyrie. So then, luckily enough, Giannis went 16 from 16 from the field that night.
That was a joke.
Like, he seems to have like the 3-point bank shot.
He banked the 3.
Like, he banked like a couple of 3s, and I was like, that's a shot now. So,
but where else did he get his points? All from dunks. Who else would have done all of that? Joel.
And it's what you're talking about. Is you're saying you did your research and you said try hards and stuff like that. You're missing the point of we're not talking about your team. We're talking about our team, and our team was missing Simmons, who's an outrageous passer, who would have put the ball up above the rim 15 times maybe for Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking a combined 35 points between the 2 of them with 10 assists off Simmons. But we're not talking about your team. You're missing D Book, who would have played 8 minutes, 10 minutes,
another
10 points.
Yeah.
We missed 35.
Joel Embiid would have stepped into Team KD, okay? And you had Kyrie, Bradley Beal, that are Team Kyrie from the starters, Team KD from the starters, right? And unfortunately, I think the domino effect comes there because he's taking away from Kyrie's 24, Bradley Beal's 26. He isn't going to take away from LeBron's 4. Like, I don't care. LeBron comes if he takes away from LeBron's 4 on our team because he's not on that team. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, we're gonna get that benefit. Like, our big scorers were Steph, Damian Lillard, who weren't on Joel Embiid's team anyway.
It is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's a shame though, because in general,
it's a tainted L. It's a tainted L.
Yeah, a little asterisk.
I feel like that with the whole of the Sunday. I feel like that with the whole of the All-Star.
Yeah,
event,
it's a good point.
I mean? It's a shame really, because I think the situation we're in as a whole had a knock-on effect on like the skills challenge and the dunk contest, because the dunk contest was a bit weird in how they scored it as well. So obviously we'll go into that in a bit.
Well, I was going to say, Tom, do you just want to roll through with that first, and we'll just do as we started already. We'll just go through All-Star weekend, and then I'll just do picks afterwards.
I think it's a shout. We'll sort of end with that after. I think that's cool. We'll go All-Star, and we'll go into kicks of the week. Cool. So All-Star game recap. I'm just going to go through the picks we had, and then we can discuss what we noticed, and I'll kick that off. So we'll start with the skills challenge, and I'm a growing fan of the skills challenge. I never used to be, okay? And I'm saying that, and I know you're shaking your head, Corey, but I'm a growing fan of it. And just to say, I had Chris Paul, Corey had CP as well, Wayne, Luka, and then JP was the winner, Domantas Sabonis. I'm a fan. I liked the competition. I like the big versus guard or big forward, whatever you want to call it. I'm a fan of that. And what I like is, again, what I did take away from it, you got the starters in Chris Paul and Luka who didn't care that much. The effort Sabonis was putting in was more than anyone else. JP, as the winner, what did you take away from the skills challenge?
So again, I based my prediction off people who thought would try hard. It's a case of Sabonis has been there and done it. He was in the final against Bam, and then unfortunately he got beat by Bam. But I'm a bigger fan of the skill. It's not almost a skill challenge, but it was a few years back with Bosh and Wilkins, Dominique Wilkins. They're on the same team, and your team had to have a bank shot, then a free throw shot, and then a 3-pointer, and then it went to the half court shot, and then that was timed, so you had to get that in a reasonable time. And people are going to try hard in that because you're going to, play for each other. It's a contest, and you want your team to win. So, you've got other people who are relying on you. Whereas, obviously, as you mentioned, you've got Lucas strolling down the court, weaving his way. He doesn't care. Chris Paul the same. I get all the charity of betting, like the side bets of charities and so forth. But I don't think no one takes a skills challenge that seriously. But I am a big fan of adding some sort of side skills challenge.
Yeah. To be fair, I've got to agree with you on that one. And I think the problem with a lot of these things at the moment, like no one looks at the skills challenge and goes, I really want to win that. I don't think Sabonis even looked at that skills challenge and went, I really want to win that. Right? Personally, my original choice, as you're both aware, was Sabonis. And I thought, he's what, 6'10", 6'11"? He's a big guy. He's skilled, but I was like, is he really going to beat guards that are smaller, quicker, and technically better players? But then I think both Wayne and myself and Tom were robbed in the sense of Chris Paul really didn't try that hard. Luka was literally walking the course. And I think to make it more interesting, and I've been saying this ever since, to be fair, Tom, since I started watching All-Star with you probably about 5 years ago, I've been saying it ever since. They need to add something into it to make it more competitive. I thought the charity thing would make it more competitive in terms of the actual game itself. It hasn't. Maybe the skills challenge, putting something on the line. So putting 50 grand for charity on the winner, and I know it seems like nothing, but it's just some incentive to make people play better, because no person is going to watch the skills game knowing there's money for charity on it and watch a guard stroll through it, because they're going to lose fans from it. So they've got to make it more competitive, because to be honest, I think Chris Paul didn't try, even though he had a bye. Luka didn't try, and Sabonis was just the guy that tried harder and was skillfully better than Vucevic.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it is a weird one. Like I say, I'm growing to like it. I'm getting there with it. And that topic on what are they doing All-Star for, I'm going to just fast forward to this point because this will go throughout all of it. But I'm similar. I think the addition of how it went last year with, unfortunately, with Kobe, and the addition of that sort of fourth quarter and how hard they played and no time limit, no ad breaks, that sort of stuff. I was a big fan. But again, I still think at some point that will wear off. I know a couple of years ago, and I need to refresh myself if they do this now, but in Major League Baseball, when they had a bit of a slump in their All-Star game, okay, and what they did, they then decided in the words of Derek Trotter, it's silly boy rounders. But when they had a slump, and I think it was I can't remember if it was 1 year or if they continued it, but the winning conference had home field advantage come the finals. So if you imagine, you then go, if you go back to the East and West in the basketball, no matter who had the number one seed or the best standing in the league, let's say the West win it, whoever comes out of the West has the home advantage, has game 7 in their court, which gives a bit of an advantage for the players. You can imagine LeBron, just Steph, Giannis, who want that. Unfortunately, what they found was, I think those players who, if you imagine, Zach LaVine ain't going to try hard if he knows he's going to give like the advantage. That doesn't bother him. So there are swings and roundabouts, and I think there are some changes need to be looked into it. So
I think that, there's definitely personal incentives there, because obviously clearly like these players have something in their contract where, if I make that all-star team, I get X amount of a bonus, or there's more incentives within their contract that way. And I think if they added a bit more of an incentive through the contract, say, oh, I win the game at the All-Star, that's an extra 500k or something along those lines, then I think just purely I know it sounds a bit selfish because of money, but then that adds a bit more incentive for them to actually go and try. And that's what the people want to see. They don't want to see, okay, you got to the All-Star, that's it. That's not the case.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing about basketball, I actually think they do their game better than any other sport. Their All-Star game, I think, is better than any other sport that does one. I just think we as fans, as much as we love seeing threes and dunks, I'd rather see someone contest a free or contest a dunk.
I'd rather see an All-Star game that finishes with a total of 200 points. And I've seen people hit outrageous shots. Like, don't get me wrong, it's interesting watching Dame pull up from half court and hit the winner. That's great, but in an all-star game, when it's the crunch time and there's 3 points left to win it, who's got a hand in the face of Dame Logo Lillard? That was his own nickname. Like, he's gonna pull up and shoot. He hit 3 threes from 40 foot.
Yeah, he hit 3 threes from Portland. They're now playing in Atlanta.
No, exactly. Like, it's just crazy how no one has the sort of drive to do well. But you see stints of it, and you see people go, "Oh, he's guarding him." Like Kyrie is one of those. Like, there was stints where
takes it personally.
"Oh, he's guarding him." Like, he wants to win. Like, and you can't knock that winning attitude. But you're an all-star. It means you're one of the best in the league at what you do. You're one of the best people in your team.
Yeah,
go
before
like it.
we
go
got
show
a
us
bit
why.
sidetracked. We got a bit sidetracked off the comp. We'll come back to all of this when we look at the game. But second competition we're going to talk about is the 3-point competition. And I'll list through who we got. I went Jason Tatum, Corey went Jaylen Brown, Wayne and JP picked the winner and Steph. And I just need to apologise again to Steph Curry if he ever watches this. I can't believe I didn't go for you. Right? It's ridiculous. It's the worst thing.
I thought the same. I watched it and went, "What? Why didn't I pick the banker? He's
Same
a guaranteed winner. He's the best shooter ever."
I woke up and I looked at it and went, "Why did I do that? Why didn't I go with Steph?" Like,
I got a bit nervous when Mike Conley, because in the final round, Mike Conley got there with 27 in the final round, and he went before Steph, and he's put the pressure on Steph, and it was good to hear the live commentary, because I think Steph on his first rack he went 1 for 5, and they were like, "Oh, it's getting close," and then come to the last ball, that was actually good. Like, the intensity was there. You could tell that there was a bit of nerves, and it was all down to the last shot, and that's kind of what you want to see.
It came down to the money ball, didn't it, on the last rack?
Yeah.
Because he finished what? Yeah. Steph finished at 27. Conley went 28-27. Steph went 31-27. Or it was something like that.
He went,
and what
he went for 28 in the last round.
Oh, did he?
When I watched it, I'm like, how did I not go with Steph? Like, what went through my head? Because he's so smooth, and I for years watched 3-point competition and listened to the likes of Reggie Miller. Granted, unbelievable 3-point shooter, second best, third best ever. Okay, and he always says the players that don't change their shot always do better. So I think if you listen to it, they were talking about Donovan Mitchell had a wider base and less lift in his shot, and Jaylen Brown's shot looked different. Tatum sort of had a small tweak in his shot. Steph Curry and Mike
talk about his legs.
Curry and Conley didn't change the way they shoot the ball, and actually Conley's best shot was straight on, because that's the shot he plays. He does all the time. He did in Memphis. He now does it with Utah. And I think with Steph, his shot doesn't need to change. His shot is all wrist. It's not his legs. And you see that. And again, as I watched it, I was like, I know this. Why did I go anywhere else?
I think
what went through my head.
I think what let Tatum down, or it's not his fault, but just fatigue set in. Trying to
because he's not a consistent three ball shooter, is he? He's a shooter, but he's a scorer, not a shooter.
He's just not on Steph's level. It's as simple as that. He's just not on Steph's level. A few weeks ago, Steph's mentioning now he's made 105 in a row.
Yeah,
you can't see that.
And no fatigue either, because it's all his form. As you said, it's so wristy, and he doesn't force the ball. It's all wrist, and the arc he gets on it, that he's in such a rhythm when he finds it, and he's not going to get tired. I honestly fully believe Steph could stand there and shoot 200 threes in a row, and only at about 170 would he start tailing off and go, "I'm tired now."
When I listened to the commentary as well, I think it emphasised my point in bringing him into my all-time top 5. You've got Reggie Miller there, Shaq, Kenny the Jet. They're all saying that this is the best shooter we've ever seen, and granted, he showed why on Sunday night.
Yeah, and I think again, I also think leading into the next competition, I think the 3-point has sort of overshadowed the dunk of many years now. Take away the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine battles. I think in sort of overall the 3-point competition has sort of put up more of a competition because there are better players entering.
Didn't Conley replace D-Book in that as well?
Yeah, and he was a late reserve, but I also have another thing. Like, they can't. If there's a late reserve or late change in the slam dunk contest, I get that because they've got a plan dunks. Connolly just got told turn up and pick a spot to shoot more foot. Like they were warm up shots. I imagine he does them on a daily. So, but yeah, no, I find it so interesting because, and this sounds ridiculous, okay, and this might be a bold statement, and you guys might shoot me down on this, but I find the 3-point contest more exhilarating because there's stuff that I can't do. And I mean that by like, that money, I can't dunk. I know you're looking at me like, yeah, you definitely can't dunk. You've seen me jump. But like, if my Rudy Gobert concept, like Obi Toppin is 6'7", 6'8", okay?
6'9",
like,
Obi Toppin.
6'9", okay? And then, yes, Simons and Stanley aren't overly tall for the NBA, but guess what? They are tall. Like that, they're
still
tall
6'4", 6'5". Right?
Yeah, who
and
are
they're
athletic.
Athletes. Yeah, they're not just people.
I'm not. Let's just say, I think you could put Steph Curry in a dunk contest because Steph can hit dunks. They won't be excited.
There's not anyone in that league that can't dunk, really, is there? I mean, there's a few old heads now that can't get up, but even the smaller guards in that league, the 6 foot Chris Paul can get up and dunk, and he's 6 foot.
But you wouldn't see a 3-point contest filled with Gobert, Tristan Thompson, DeAndre Jordan, because that's not.
I would tune into that. Yeah, I want to see that. Right, we've made it All-Star Weekend. We're the organisers now. Sorry, NBA, we've got this.
I think we did.
Do you get my point? That's my point. I watch it like, wow.
I think the dunk contest this year needed 2 asterisks by it because I think with the scoring, what adds to it is the creativity, and it wasn't allowed because obviously there was no additional people there in the crowd. The props probably, beforehand were told that you can't have props. So I think they all add to the score as well, and the intensity of a dunk to get that reaction. And then I felt like with the first dunk, Cassius Stanley, I felt like the judges had set the benchmark because they thought they were going to see something better. Therefore, they lowered Cassius' score, and they didn't want to set the bench too high. Yeah. I felt like in past years where Aaron Gordon has been robbed twice. Let's just make that clear. He's been robbed twice at a dunk contest.
I think once. I don't.
Yeah,
once.
I wouldn't say twice.
I think the first Levine. I don't care. You said about the creativity. Zach Levine rocking up with a Space Jam jersey doing the Space Jam dunk. The creativity, the dunk from the free throw line wins it for me. Like that just wins it. Like regardless, granted, I think Jordan's dunk over the mascot spinning is unreal. But I think the creativity and the drama that Levine brought that year, I get that's an argument. That's 50-50. Aaron Gordon should have beaten.
I wouldn't say he was robbed. Both players deserve to win it. I wouldn't say Aaron Gordon was robbed because that takes it away from what Zach Levine did. And Zach Levine.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I like it by robbed. It means that the other guy shouldn't have won it. I think the last one, Aaron Gordon dunks over Taco Fall. It's a fact that should have happened.
So 7'6".
The fact that we're debating about a winner here, right, in these 2 dunk contests, proves that there needs to be another asterisk here because those sort of dunks were getting like the NBA players off their seats on the side and we're debating who should be a winner and it was a tight contest. So I don't think the dunk contest has actually lost its purpose and its fulfillment. I just think because of the scenario and the situation that we're currently in, it's a shame really, and it wasn't really much of an exciting.
Personally, I feel like the judging wasn't necessarily right. So they tried setting a benchmark. What you said about with Stanley's dunk. Stanley's first dunk was an okay dunk. It wasn't a high scorer. I think the judges were right to score it for what they did because they were expecting more. But to then go on to Obi Toppin's dunk and hit him with a 47, 48, and I was like, well, don't get me wrong, I had Obi Toppin to win, and I thought it was a good dunk, but not a 48 dunk. It was a 43, 44.
They showed that Levine had done that in the pre-warm-ups. The same exact dunk that Obi Toppin did between the legs. Zach Levine did that earlier that night, and they've all seen it. So I don't know why they were giving a mad score for that.
So just before we get going, I'm just going to say who we had. So I had the winner in the end, Anthony Simons. Corey went Obi.
I originally went Simons, changed it to Obi.
Yeah, no, you did.
I even said it in the group, didn't I? I was like, Simons is going to win.
Wayne Cassius Stanley, and so did JP. I agree. I agree. I think the dunks that they all did when I've rewatched them again today, the dunks they did, I think, are very, very good dunks. They're not what we're used to, and like that, I agree is the awkward part when you look at who has got what in previous years. Like I think Cassius Stanley's dunk is underratedly very, very good because you see the leg. He takes it off from his. I think he takes off his left, and that's the leg he goes through.
He puts it through, yeah. Technically, it's so difficult to do. Like if you think about the mechanics of that dunk, it's ridiculous. And I think that I'm not trying to be biased here, but I personally thought that was the dunk of the night, and it was.
I get what you're saying, and I do agree. I think I see why you would say it because I think technically it's a beautiful dunk, and I'm a fan of Toppin's dunk as well. Granted, Levine did that in the warm up. Because I look at Toppin and he isn't as bouncy, he isn't as jumpy. He's unbelievably athletic, and his dunking ability is great.
But his vertical isn't as high. His bounce isn't as high.
And what I'm a fan of dunks that at the end of it, it gets you up your seat because of how hard they dunk it. Everything they do about it is like that moment.
When that rim pings back, yeah.
Yeah, I got that from Obi's dunk over Julius Randle. And I think, unfortunately with that one, he missed the first attempt. I'm not one of these who buys this, he pushed down. Yes, he pushed down, but that doesn't bring you to then get over someone. Like that doesn't.
He's still jumping 6'10" in the air to get his testicles over. Not only a 6'10", 6'9", 6'10", 6'11" Julius Randle, but also his 6'10" dad, who was a dunking pro himself. And that whole push off thing. If he'd have done it under the rim and done a dunk like that, he's pushing off. But he's 8 foot from the rim doing that.
Yeah.
That's not propelling him. That's not getting him any higher on the dunk. If anything, it's hindering him. Like if he goes over clean, like it's going to be a better dunk. Whereas he's then stopping his momentum by putting his hand down. So, but it's what I find a bit crazy about this whole situation and this whole dunk talk. We're not talking about the winner. We're not talking about his dunk. And I do not feel that dunk was enough to win it. He tried something, it didn't work, and he won the competition because he got really high in the air. That is not good enough for me. So I looked at that dunk and went, Toppin's got this. And then I looked at it again in slow motion and saw that he tried the kiss. He's this far away. You don't kiss a girl from a meter away and go, got kissed though, didn't I? Because you didn't. You were miles away.
Wait, I've seen you say you got a kiss for a lot less. I've seen you say you got a kiss for a lot less.
She loves me. No, she doesn't. Corey, she's just X-raying your hand.
The thing with Simmons' dunk is in the final round, if he had added something like a candle like Gerald Green did, or if there was some sort of prop involved to just emphasise the hop that he had and the height that what he stayed at for a long time, I think that would have added to his dunk.
Do you know what he should have done? He should have put a cupcake on like Gerald Green did, but taken a bite out of the cupcake as he did the dunk. Because there is no way, you're telling me, right, he couldn't have done that. With an extension to the rim, obviously, was no different from what they did when they put the other hoop up.
Yeah, for his basketball,
They could have done something like that and put if he's going to do the kiss or do something, do an extension of the thing, take a bite of a cake and hit a dunk. I'll believe. I'll get up and walk out. That would be it.
That's outrageous.
There also comes a point as well, though, where we're looking at 3 NBA players, but what are we expecting? One of them only has played 2 games in the league.
One of them's not even got a dunk in the actual league.
And then so I think that's another part that's let us down. And I understand it's the year that we're in and whatever. So I hope in the future we see the likes of Zion. It's a shame we didn't see LeBron in his prime. We need big names are what hype up this challenge.
Going forward, there's 2 names I want to see go head to head, and I don't care who else. I'd actually rather see no one else in the competition. I would like to see a Zion versus Ja Morant dunk off and just go, you got 6 dunks and we're just going to score you out of that. That's my dream. But my other thing with the dunk contest, and I hate this, and I don't understand why. If they miss one, there's this idea that, go down 1 mark. Like, why? Like,
they give you 3 tries for a reason. If it was based on hitting it first time, then why didn't you just give them 1 try? And if they missed the dunk, they flunked.
And I don't like that because it seems like, because I think Toppin's one over Randall. I think Stanley's the first attempt of the one he missed would have been so nice. He then had to change it and go to something else. But the reason I think Simon's won overall, okay, and I don't think his dunks individually, one by one, if you did a split screen, are actually overly better and will dominate in history books. I think he won because in 3 dunks, he did 3 different things in terms of he did the extra hoop, he put a T-Mac jersey on, and I don't care what anyone does. You throw an old school jersey on and do a dunk similar to him, you're getting at least 48 points. He then did the blow in the kiss. I'm fine with the kiss blow because I would rather him, funny enough, I'd rather him go to do it and then come down pretending he's like broken his mouth or something ridiculous and like make it a bit of a joke and a story. But I just felt disappointed or a little bit let down. I was like, yeah, it doesn't feel spectacular. I actually, funny enough, when I rewatched it all back, I was like, I just rather get back to the second half now. Like, I was like, it's a time filler.
I was exactly the same. I was like,
yeah,
well, that was complete waste of half time that I could have gone and done something.
I
actually wanted to get up and do something. I wanted to get up and I can't remember what it was. It was either like go and make a cup of tea or something like that. And I was like, no, I can't miss a single dunk. I've got to watch it. And I watched it and went, oh, that's 10 minutes of not getting back. At no point was the only dunk that really made me go, ooh, was Toppin's first dunk. And that was the only dunk I really was like, ooh. I'm not sure if that's because I wanted him to win or if it was genuinely a clean, powerful, nice dunk.
I'm in agreement with Tom in the future in seeing Zion, Ja Morant, and then I'm going to throw.
Oh no, I completely agree as well. Yeah,
Anthony Edwards in the mix as well of that because.
But on top of those, I physically do not think it's fair to continue without letting Aaron Gordon have his shot. I think he has to. There's right, Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon. LaVine's changed his game. He's better than he ever was technically. He's a better shooter and passer than he was before.
Yeah.
So you can forgive. Obviously, he's in the 3-point contest now. He's done the dunk contest twice. He doesn't need to go back. Maybe in a couple of years' time if he's showing outrageous athleticism still. But with Aaron Gordon, I can't help but feel, and you probably disagree with this, but he should be there every year. Like I feel like the man should have a go till he wins it. Like because it's so unlucky. But then again, that's competition. You lose in the final, you lose in the final. That's how it is. It wasn't cool. It was a flip of a coin that won it. Like it was.
And I think I agree with you, Aaron Gordon. I'd like to see him back there, but unfortunately it gets to that point, and in like the DiCaprio never won an Oscar, and then it was like they gave him for The Revenant, and it was like that, compared to all the others, that ain't that good.
So tainted. No, it was
a
terrible film. Like, I watched it was a terrible film.
But like, do you know what I'm trying to say? That was that sort of idea that we've got to give him at some point, and I just worry that Jordan will get it for that contest. We'll go. That was just to please him.
I think he came out after the last one that he finished second in, and he said he doesn't want to.
He said he won't do it again, didn't he? Yeah.
But the narrative's there. The narrative is there in order for him to redeem himself, get some redemption, all this. But I don't think personally he just wants to do it. I personally think he's been robbed twice. He's definitely been robbed once. I don't think he'll bother wasting his time trying again.
Yeah, I agree. I also think, funny enough, he did one a couple. He's been in a couple. I'm sure he was in one more, and he came out and did something ridiculous there. But we'll come back to that. And then going on to the game itself, and all 4 of us went with the same team because I think when you look at the 2 teams on paper, one team, and before we get onto the game, so we all picked Team LeBron. Okay, and they won. Before we get onto the game, I have a conversation with my brother every week, and the only reason he's not on here is that for this to happen, we don't have enough hours in the day for him to get all of his opinions out. Okay. And Corey knows that. He knows him. Yep. We won't have enough time to do it. Okay. And that's why. But he said to me, he went and had a look back at the 1992 Dream Team. Okay. And their starting 5 was Magic, Mike, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, okay, known as the Dream Team. Granted, that's the whole squad, okay, but I'm taking the starting 5. And then we said the Redeem Team, so the second Dream Team of 2008, which starting 5 was J. Kidd, Kobe, LeBron, D. Wade, and Dwight Howard, okay? No, it was Tyson Chandler, Dwight Howard, okay? Compared those 2 5s and then this team LeBron 5, which is LeBron, Steph, Giannis, Joker, and Luka. Which is the best 5 ever assembled?
See, we had this conversation the other day saying about it's hard to judge the greatest of all time if they're still playing. So that is a hard answer in itself. But if you just, in those situations, I don't think you look at the team and the names. I think you go player to player. So you look at matchups across the court and you go, who's better? Who's going to outscore the other one? Because in the long run, you don't get greatest player of all time from scoring an average of 5 points a game and 3 blocks. No one wants to see that. Someone wants to see you drop 30 every game. So when you look at everything, though, LeBron last year, points was averaging less, but Michael Jordan averaged, 5 assists, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, as well as like 20 whatever points. What's LeBron averaging career-wise? It's slightly higher, but points are less. And then you've got to go across the board and look at the other matchups. And to be honest, I don't actually think you can really answer that question. Luka and Joker are so early in their careers that something could change. And Luka could be someone that we forget about. Joker could be someone that got injured and his back goes and he had a great 4 or 5 year career. And then that was it.
I'm in agreement because not only that, you look at the way that basketball has changed over the years. Will that dream team of the 90s, Curry will be getting fouls left, right, centre on them. Do you know what I mean? A little bump on the shoulder. I think the way that fouls are called nowadays is completely different to how they did it in the 90s.
And outrageous.
Yeah, it is. It's a mockery to the game in to some extent, because that's how you try and compare players of different decades, and it's like, well, the game's changed, and how can you really do that? Because will the likes of Michael Jordan, would he have more points in a more fouled environment where he's going to go to the free throw line more? I agree. Just I'm going to sit on the fence with that one as well, because it's hard to say over the starting 5. Depending on if they were in their prime or are we talking about the actual year when they were part of these teams.
So I'm going to throw out there. I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm taking Team LeBron now over, I think, any other 5 ever assembled. And that's purely down to, yes, Luka and Jokic are that sort of, what will they be? There's that question mark. But I think when it's all said and done, and I think these 3 players could finish their careers now, and we go, they're top 15 players, and that's LeBron, Steph, and Giannis. And I'm not a massive Giannis fan.
So
however,
that's the thing. I'm not really sure with the Giannis thing on that. Are we going to look back in 15 years' time and go, he's one of the greatest ever?
I think he's top 15. I think unless you're top 3 or top 5, you won't ever get that greatest ever mark. But I don't see. I think when you look at how the game's changed, yes, we're talking about that. I think a player like Steph Curry can play in any era. I think LeBron can. I think a player like Steph can. And I think Giannis is the modern day version of Karl Malone, where if you ever watch back on Karl Malone, he could score just he'd pull up, his dunks. He was a threat physically. I think Giannis is a modern version of Karl Malone, and eventually I think will be looked at as a better player. And I also think that goes ahead of. I don't think he needs to win, because Malone didn't win. Malone became, like, granted, his second all-time scoring, but I think he didn't win the MVPs that Giannis has, and like Giannis has, they haven't got a chip next to their name. I just think, personally, that's my opinion. I know, as we said, and I'm saying this from the guy who brought up, it's hard to put someone as the top while still playing.
Going back to that point, I think is what it is. I feel like when we were talking about last week, our greatest all-time 5s, there was a pool of 15 players. So if we all wrote down 15 players, and if we actually say we wrote our best ever roster, so like 12 players, I feel like 10 of them would be the same.
100%.
Then you're fighting between 5 people for 2 places. But now I look at the guys that you lined out, and do I go, is Giannis one of those greats, or can he be? He can, if he learns that he doesn't have to run the game. Because Giannis's problem, and the teams have done it against him, when they put that wall up and Giannis has the ball in his hand, he doesn't drop as many. Don't get me wrong, he'll still drop 20. Like, the crazy thing is he'll still drop 20, but he can foul out. He'll give away so many offensive fouls. my problem with that is we watched it against the Clippers, and I spoke about this heavily. They put the wall up, but he was standing on the other side of it. They didn't expect that. And I think coaching along with learning, Giannis can be that top. Well, to be obviously, he plays 3, 4, 5. Like he's so versatile, and he's a 7-footer with a 7'7" wingspan or whatever it is. But can we put him in the line for that? Is he going to be the best small forward? No. Is he going to be the best number 4? I can't really see it, and he's not a 5 naturally, despite being huge. So it's hard because he's a versatile player and he's oversized for his position. I feel like it's always hard to do that. But then look at Magic.
Going back to the dream team, then who was the actual point guard? Was it Magic?
I think when you look at who they started compared to who played the most minutes, is where it's in the awkward part. So Magic started, however, I believe they moved Scottie Pippen to the point a lot during their run in that Olympics, and then they brought on Stockton. And yeah,
it's just stupid, isn't it?
Like, and that's why it's a great question. I think it's a good topic.
If I had to give you an answer now, it would be the dream team, because then if like you said, because Stockton did play them more minutes, but then I'd play Magic, and then whoever's on Curry, I'd give the ball. Whoever Curry's defending, give them the ball, because I think in that team today that we mentioned about LeBron's All-Star team, I think defensively Curry would be the liability, and to say that's the only weakness I can actually think of. From a defensive standpoint, is something. It shows how far the league keeps getting better and better.
And it's crazy because you don't talk about the greatest of all time as defensive players. And yeah, fair enough. All right, yeah, I might go and drop 20, or not me personally, but I'm saying, like, if Curry's defending you, yeah, you might go and drop 20 or 5 on him, but he'll drop 35 back on you. Like, you're not walking away. If you do a plus minus of you two, you're not walking away with the victory on that. So he is the greatest shooter of all time, but
yeah, let's say
I'm going to go the dream team of past, purely based on what we said last week. If it's too hard to judge, and Luka and Luka's 22 and Jokic is 25. They're so early on. I hope they can be great and we get to see that era. But
so I think with the Giannis, just to finish up on the Giannis, I think you look how old he is and how many years he's been in the league. I mean, it's coming up to his 7th year this year, 8th year, 6th or 7th year. LeBron's first chip, 8 years in. MJ's first chip, 7 years in. The players they came later on once they learnt the game. So I still think if Giannis doesn't win it in the next 3 years or 4, I think there's a big question mark there. Then we're going straight onto the game itself then. As I said, Team LeBron...
So sidetracked.
Yeah, sorry. I say, Matt does that to me. He will phone me and just throw a topic at me, and I'm like, yeah, I've kind of...
3 hours later, you're still sitting there listening to his opinion, and why your opinion's wrong.
Yeah, there was one comment, and this is a football-based one, about 10 years ago, okay? And he once told me England should go to the Euros with Side Berahino as the forward. And then we had an argument once that he said Daniel Sturridge is the most talented English footballer ever. So we had these arguments, JP. These are common sporting arguments. It wouldn't surprise me if he phoned me later and we had an argument about the All-Star game. But so All-Star game, my takeaway from it was I think it was the competitiveness that was there last year completely went, because I think if you look across the board, I think when the face of the league doesn't seem to be too bothered and is more than happy to sit out the second half in LeBron, it sends a message. There was limited defense. I think the players it meant more to were the Damian Lillards, who didn't play last year, Steph, who didn't play last year. Those sort of players, it meant more to them, I think, as a show off, like, yes, I am in this current bracket. But JP, what was your takeaway from it?
I haven't... What can you take away from that game? Do you know what I mean? Like, I get they're all having fun. I get Dame and Steph are doing their thing, and it was a bit of fun to see LeBron and Steph on the same team. That was a joy to watch. But then, technically, there's nothing to take away from that game. There's no insight. We all know these are all ballers, and they're the best of the league at the moment. So I don't really know where we go from here. I'm to be honest, when when the game had finished, I was more looking forward to the second half of the season. I'm thinking, all right, let's get to it now. Let's get to the playoffs because, again, along with last season, you can tie in this season in the sense that they're both washed away. People argue that you can add asterisks to these two seasons. So again, I think people are just wanting it to be done with.
Yeah, I think the All-Star game was just a bit of a strange one. I actually, again, quite relieved when it was finished. So I was so excited for it, but then just didn't feel anything from it. I agree with you. I enjoyed watching LeBron, Steph have their moments. I actually enjoyed the highlights after when you can hear what they're saying and see the fun they're having more than actually in the game.
Watching Steph do that, because I actually sat up and watched the whole game. And because obviously me being a very, very strong gambling man, and hence why I'm slightly distracted. It was great to sit back and listen to that sort of stuff, and it was nice to see. But taken away from the game, I left after that game with an emptiness. Like, I know that sounds really sort of deep, but I mean, as in love of the game, I can watch a basketball game and be like, wow. And it doesn't matter what teams I watch. And I normally tend to stick to the games that we speak about and things like that, because obviously it gives me context going forward. And we all know how hard it is to try and watch all basketball games. Like, it's impossible. But going through it, I got to the end of that game and was like, okay, well, Damian Lillard did well. And that's what I took from the game. I've literally written down here, when we talk about what we've game, Dame time, baby. He was the only thing I looked at in that whole All-Star game, and I was like, I'm glad. I am so glad. Someone go and get him a ring. He's someone go and get him a ring. Like, honestly.
See, I'm going to put Dame. I think Dame will go down as this generation's Allen Iverson, where everyone watches him and go, oh, I just love the way he plays. I love exactly what he does. And then when we look back and go, how did he not win a ring? Because I think like AI was one of my favourite players of all time, and I put him in my 5 when we spoke about earlier this year, a couple of weeks ago actually. But where I think Dame's this generation's that guy that we're going to go, what? How has he not got a ring? Because he's everyone's favourite player's player. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I bet you've heard LeBron talk about him. You knew, as much as Steph Curry loves Klay Thompson, I bet on Sunday he went home and went, imagine me and Dame in a backcourt. Like, imagine. Like, you could see that there was this sort of idea of, wow, he is. But even with LeBron, good.
Watching, I never thought I would see Steph and LeBron be like that together. Obviously, they're both from the same place and stuff like that. But it looked like Steph was Bron's little brother.
Yeah.
And it just looked fun and happy. Like, I say it was a bad thing. If you take away the whole idea of the All-Star weekend and what we've seen and all the bad things we've said, if you take down to the actual as a player and you look at it from their point of view, I can't imagine anyone being there that's saying I hated that weekend.
Yeah, mate, I agree.
Like, bumbling.
Watching Steph and LeBron reminded, and you said like Steph being LeBron's little brother. It reminded me and you in Atlantis. You just follow me around, but
no, you would follow me around to stop me getting into trouble. Corey, no, but why?
From a trading standpoint, we've seen over the years as well, like last season, 2 seasons ago, when like the last time there was crowds at an All-Star game, Bradley Beal, there was talk of him, being traded to these teams XYZ, because players then understand what it feels like to play with Bradley Beal, and I'm potentially, hopefully, something happens with Dame where someone got that feeling playing with Dame and was like, we need him in our team. I know this is a bit of fun, but we need this guy in order to get a chip. And that's what a lot of talk was with Bradley Beal a few years ago. And I'm hoping again, these players are starting to relish in playing with their mates, and we see that come to fruition within the league where people join up and team up. And so I think I'd like to see that a lot more.
Yeah, no, I get you. And in my opinion, I think the game was a bit sort of dull. I'm glad that some players got what they got, and we could see them, like Levine's, Randall, who actually, as much as I know we talk a lot about Levine, how many opportunities Lizzie's going to have when everyone's fit. Like, just unfortunately, like, he might take a next level, but who will be there? Like, you had no Westbrook. I know he's not been playing it, but like, you had no Westbrook, like that sort of stuff. Who might take his spot? And then there's players up and coming. So yeah, that's our takeaway from the All-Star game. Bit of a dull one, and unfortunately, I wish we could be sat here going, "Wow, an ending!" Or I see this guy. Unfortunately, and I don't think. Again, I don't think it's a blame on anyone. It's just the way the world is at the moment, and I think the fan interaction and also like celebrity row at the games that adds to it, and it feels like you're a part of it. Whereas this one, I felt like I was watching a training session, and as much as I'm a huge fan of training sessions, like I in scrimmages and training look amazing. Don't get me doing any sort of one-on-one drills. That's not happening. And I'm a fan of training scrimmages, but it just felt that way. So that sort of concludes our first half of the year, the NBA. And in about a couple of minutes, we're going to talk about what we want to see in the second half of the NBA. Before we do that, and Noah's got his eyes on whatever game. I can't work out what game you got your eyes on. It's not the City Southampton one, is it?
It is, yeah. Half time, I chucked on a fiver on 5-2 City. Just won 50 quid.
Nice.
I've got another bet
really
for a fiver
that.
that's 50 quid at the moment, and cash out 50 quid cash out for 150 quid. So I was getting excited.
I've lucked out massively. So my fantasy team was a bit poor this week, and I had De Bruyne captain, and he did nothing on Sunday, but he sort of stepped up today, so that's really helped me out. So Corey, over to you. We hadn't had this segment for a couple of weeks, and we spoke about why you and me spoke a lot at length about this and how of a difficult business and area to thrive in because of the nature of what it is. And you know my feeling of it and whatever we spoke about with it. So
Supply
over to you in this one.
Demand. So this week, kicks of the week. It's funny you're talking about the American Dream Team and stuff like that. They're actually a pair of two pairs of classics. So I've got two pairs this week, not necessarily basketball related, but they are classic American kicks. So they're called the Popcorn Pack, and they come in like the classic white.
Hang on, can you say that word again for me?
Popcorn.
Can you say it properly? Popcorn.
Popcorn. So yeah.
Ciao, Joe.
Oh wow. So yeah, classic sort of wrapping with these. Obviously, you've got American movie theaters with the wrapping. Just moving everything out of the way. So I couldn't decide. Originally, I wanted the Blazers. So we've got a pair of Blazers and a pair of Air Force here. Originally, I wanted the Blazers because I've been banging on about getting a pair for ages, and they're on limited release. I didn't think these shoes were going to go sold out, limited release, not pop. I managed to get, pardon the pun.
Pardon the pun.
I managed to get both pairs, which I'm absolutely over the moon about. They're two, despite there being the same colorways of two different trainers, they're reversed. So start off with the classic Air Force with the little popcorn emblem, which is actually solid metal as well. Obviously, it's not gold, but solid metal. So it's a cream body with white trims. See it too well on the light. White laces. You've got the classic sort of like popcorn trim with a red and white on the back for the Nike. And inside, they do actually have a popcorn sole as the base of the shoe, with a nice little hot since 82, which is obviously when the Nike Air Force were released. Massive 90s wrap shoe. So to have sort of an American styled classic colorway of these shoes is massive. Like it's such a little pleasure to have. And then just rebox these somewhat neatly.
Just while you do that, how much they flipping forward you looking at really? Size wise as well?
These are a 9 because I did actually get these for my mum who's got like Hulk feet. Did actually get these for my mum, but she opened the box and went, I don't like them. And I said, oh, that's a great shame. That is an absolute huge shame. So I'll just make sure I've got all the right paperwork with each one because Air Force Ones. Yeah, so they're the Air Force Ones. But yeah, so sorry, I did actually get these for my mum, and then she decided that she didn't like them. So flip value wise, I'm actually unsure currently because they weren't tipped to go as crazy as they did. But I've actually had a lot of messages from people from UABB themselves. I've had ex-Panthers message me about these. And they were 120, the Air Force ones. And then the Blazers were 100. This is including delivery. So they're 115 for the Air Force and 95 for the Blazers. But these, I'm going to get the shoe with the emblem on them. again, these are sort of where I said that it was a flipped colorway. These are full white leather with the cream sole, cream swoosh, cream laces, with obviously the popcorn again. The same basic style as your normal blazer. You got your foam, your popcorn sole, and then these ones are hot since '77 because obviously that was the year blazers were released as well. So it's weird with the blazers as well. They kind of made a huge. Do you remember when we were in secondary school and blazers were like?
I'm so glad you said this, right? Because I've got my own moan, and this is for any kid ever younger than us. Okay, so I was working the other day, and I don't know if you. I'm not big on TikTok or anything like that. I don't get it, right? And that makes me sound old. I'm 26. I'm not that old, right? Some kid said to me, I was rocking my Adidas Originals, all right? So with Superstars on, and they're standard. They're black and white. They're standard. Nothing special. And they said to me, that is a shoe of a boomer. And I went, well, that's factually incorrect because a boomer is whatever.
Like
right?
60s,
and they said,
isn't it? 50s, 60s is a boomer.
Yeah. And they said to me, they went, the trainer, the new one is Nike Blazers. And I went, that ain't new. I had a navy pair of Blazers that I used to wear at uni to ruin.
Purple.
I wore them to the paint party, like foam party, just because I knew they could ruin them.
They came out in 1977.
And they're telling me they're new shoes. I was having a mare. Couldn't believe it.
The crazy thing about it is the Air Forces were made huge by 90s rappers. I think it was Q-Tip was one of the guys who was like a pioneer of that. Could be completely made up. All right, by the way.
We'll sell it. Q-Tip did it.
Yeah, it was Q-Tip did it. But I've watched like sneaker interviews with Complex and Joe LaPuma and The Game and 50 Cent and people like that, and they all donned white Air Force because that's what 90s gangsters did. And then you're saying about your superstars and they're saying about being a shoe of a boomer. It wasn't. It was Run DMC. And it was Run DMC in the 90s that made that big. And I've actually got a 90s, it's obviously a remake of a 90s thing, but I've got a 90s Run DMC jersey, a varsity jacket upstairs with a blue body, black sleeves, and it's got red Hollingwood Road or Hollingwood Way written on the back of it. And they were donned with superstars with no laces. So the tongue was just flexing on them. And that's a pure 90s style. And that is something that I cannot wait to wear. Fresh white Air Forces, black jeans, a white top, and that jacket. That is just my fit for the first night out. Like that is the first proper night out where I can look good. That is my fit for the night. It's already ready to go.
I know when you can wear that when you're serving us drinks and you lose this competition. Because, but mate, those kicks are unreal. I'm a huge fan. I hadn't seen them before. I'm a huge fan.
Have you not seen them on Instagram?
No, mate, I'm very quiet this week.
I was going to say, you've been. I'll send you the picture of them as well. I'll show you them properly later on because
busy
when
week
you get them out and the light's not facing on them, sort of thing. When they're on the floor and you can look at them, serious heat. And they're both staying in my collection, not selling them.
No, mate, I'm a big fan, a huge fan of those, especially for the actual sale price you had them on. Yeah. And you got them for, so that's big. I'm a big fan. Yeah, guys, hit up Disruptive sort of for your sneakers and everything like that. I just call them sneakers and what you can do about it. This bottom corner, that
one.
There we go.
Yeah, down here.
No, you see that. So yeah, that's our kicks of the week, and I'm a big fan of those. It's nice to get two out there this week and get people seeing.
Especially after the L's I took for the last few weeks.
Yeah, we've had some quiet weeks, but they're two big sort of comebacks there. You've done well. All right, so the topic I wanted to talk about after All-Star game and the fixtures were released for the second half of the year. And I just sort of asked you guys to sort of look at what you want to see in the second half of the year. I'm going to sort of jump in first with this and then let you guys rock with my idea and then you come in with yours. Mine links to the jersey, like most of my topics and my jerseys do link. The thing I want to see, and we saw this a couple of hours before the All-Star game, which I think also took a bit of shine off, Blake Griffin going to the Brooklyn Nets. I cannot wait to see how well that works or how well that fails. I'm not going to watch it. Like if I watch it and they are dominant like they could be, I'm going to go, wow. If I watch and they are that poor, I'm going to go, wow, this is amazing. I can't wait to see how they come out. I like the story behind it. I'm so excited to see how this team is going to play. And again, Blake, and I said this to Corey over a message a couple of weeks ago, I'm a huge Blake Griffin fan. I still am. And I'm still of this person who looks at Blake and go, oh, there's still the old Blake in there. There is still old Blake.
He wasn't used properly at Pistons.
He wasn't, and I can't wait for when someone just like he's the big. Like I think, and I disagree with Wayne. I think he said that he can't see Blake playing the big role. I think Blake can. I think Blake can be. Blake is now. He's always had the inside game. He's had his low post. He's had his dunks. He's added the 3-point shot. Blake Griffin is the most complete stretch 4, undersized 5 in the game, if they're used properly. Because you imagine, we've said this before, who you done a double? Kyrie, KD, or James Harden? We've seen that they've doubled the bigs out. You imagine dunking that down to Blake Griffin, who's in a corner for a 3 or taking the dunk. I cannot wait. I still also think he doesn't answer the defensive problems, but I think that he can add something. But again, if you're going to score 140 points, that other team are going to need to score 141. And there's not many teams in the league that can do that. And that's how I see this team. They are building their own all-star team. And what I like is you've got 4 guys, at least 4 guys, 5 if you include DeAndre Jordan, on that team who are there to prove a point. And the chip on their shoulder, all of them have a chip on their shoulder, and I love it. Some of them, it's like you look at Blake, James Harden, and even DeAndre Jordan, there's that question like, you should have won it by now. Like the Clippers of what we talked about and the teams that you guys fell in love with, they should have won it. James Harden, What have you done? You should win it. We look at Kyrie, you only won it. Granted, in my opinion, he took the clutchest shot, I think, of all time. You look at that and go, that's LeBron's team. That wasn't yours. You look at KD's 2 and go, yeah, but you had Steph. They've all got that. And I just can't wait to see how this is going to go through this back end of the year. KD comes back fit. Kyrie, James looking fit and got the chemistry. I think the benefit you've got Blake Griffin, who has played with all of them at some point, and Team USA, All-Stars. They know each other. Summer runs, you know what goes on with them. And also you've got his old buddy DeAndre Jordan back.
Do you know what
So
the real
really
scary thing is about this Brooklyn team? And I know we're talking about the NBA as a whole. We're not talking about just the Nets. But I feel at the moment the Nets are the NBA. But going forward, the crazy, crazy thing is we know Blake is going to play minutes off the bench. We know he's not a starter. We know DeAndre's a starter and he's going to play bench minutes as well. His minutes may reduce. But at some point over the next few months leading up to the end of the year, we are going to see a starting 5 of Kyrie, of Harden, of KD, of Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan. That is 2/3 of Lob City back together, with a Harden who is leading, who is having his breakout year in terms of assists. He's averaging more assists than he's ever had. And you're putting 2 parts of Lob City back together, and you're replacing it with not only someone who's a great passer, but someone who can score. So you've basically put Lob City back together with a better scorer, with one of the all-time great scorers in KD, and Kyrie, who's going to go down as a top 10 point guard anyway of all time. That is, you could have, if this season breaks out and they go and get a chip this season, there's a chance that you could have a starting 5 Hall of Fame there.
I like the fact that, you talk about this entertainment side of the starting 5, and yeah, that would be like so entertaining to see. But what I think will be so vital now for the Nets as well is getting that small ball lineup where they introduce Joe Harris. Joe Harris will be key in all of this, and he'll play his part. He'll be the Kyle Korver to Giannis, or he'll be the Kyle Korver to LeBron at the Cavs. There'll come a point now where I see Joe Harris regularly getting double-digit points within the playoffs. I will back money myself, and I will show Corey that Joe Harris will get double-digit points within this playoffs.
I agree, because they're going to double up and they're going to leave a player, and no one really can guard defensively. The most efficient team were the Lakers, and we know they don't defend the arc. So
100%. And if
them in the finals.
If you look at this team now on paper with their small ball lineup, you're throwing that piece of paper away and the NBA is done. It should be finished on paper. And then you look at it and you're like, okay, we need to double team this guy, we need to double team that guy, and that guy, and that guy. and the one you leave is Joe Harris, and he's going to be open. So he's going to be so open, and he's going to help the Nets, I think, push closer to a chip. I don't know if they're going to win it still with the addition of Blake. It'll be interesting to see, but I think that's going to be
in my opinion. I agree. I think Joe Harris is underrated, and he's going to have that season where this next year or the year after, when his contract's up, he's going to get money because of this year, because of what he's got to show with it. I think, and again, I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm one of the biggest LeBron James fans. I still consider Kevin Durant 75% fit as the second best player in the world. I think this because, as I said, with this idea that they've all got a chip on their shoulder, they're all now. I think they look like they're working towards the same goal. I think there was a point in the start of the year you couldn't tell that. I think you looked at Kyrie and he was like, this is still my team. I'm still the crazy guy here. And then James Harden turned up and you're like, no, this is his team. KD sat there going, you guys can have that title, but we'll know this in the end, it's my team. I look at them now and think and even before we were chatting, JP, about how complete they looked. This with Blake, and I think they've all got this drive. I think they can play, I think, some of the best basketball we'll ever see. And how complete they're going to be. And what I also like, and I always find teams with big threes, the hardest thing to manage is who takes over the bench unit. Because what you've noticed now, you look at, they take Kyrie and KD and they leave James Harden with a bench unit to run into the second quarter. And they don't have much scoring. You then throw Blake Griffin into that. Or you give Blake Griffin and Kyrie or James Harden the keys. I don't think we will see Blake and KD together much, but I think you see a Blake and one of the point guards or the guards, and I see them dominating. They run the table in my eyes. They barely lose in the second half, and I think it's interesting to see. Corey, just give you a last point on this, and then go straight into what you want to see in the second half of the year.
So the question was, what do we want to see in the second half of the year? I think there's only two things that I can say, and to be honest, the rest of the NBA becomes irrelevant. I've got stuff written down about the Jazz. I've got stuff written down about Clippers. I think it's all completely irrelevant. You broke the thing. It's all completely irrelevant now. The only two things we can talk about are the Lakers and the Nets, and the only two things I want to see now are either the Lakers. Someone help Bron. Like AD's going to come back. Yeah, someone help him. Someone go. Okay, I'll sign. And I want to see him take on Boogie on a vet contract, or I want to see him take Drummond. I want to see something, or they've got to change the NBA and let other teams have 8 players, because there is no way in hell there is 5 players on that court. You at some point, DeAndre Jordan goes into the post. There's not many people in the league that can deal with DeAndre in the post as it is. Go and give him 2 7-footers to mark him, guard him. Like, that is crazy. But other than that, back to the serious point of like the Lakers, like LeBron's done it before. He stopped super teams. LeBron's now lacing up. LeBron's like Batman at the moment. Like, Joker's got his team of goons and all the people that will think he's lacing up, thinking, why me? Like, am I that good? And I think it's a testament. And I think you're saying about a divine goal at Nets. Everyone there has got a chip on their shoulder. They know what they want, but they've not fallen there by accident. You look at Harden go there and Kyrie go there, and everyone's gone, I'm going to go. Oh, I'm going to go. And now they're getting players optionally signing for them. So someone's got to go, I want to go against that. I don't look at that Brooklyn Nets team. If you look at the battle of good and evil, I look at LeBron as a superhero. Everyone looks at LeBron like, wow. They're the villains. He's got a whole team of cronies. He's going to need his Robin, because AD's obviously not staying fit, and it showed in last year as well, in the playoffs at some point as well, that to rotate. He's not staying fit. It's the same aggravated injury. It's obviously been there for a while. What can the Lakers physically do to make the NBA fair? Because at the moment, I see 4 teams in the NBA, 5 teams at max. Everyone else is relevant. Like, there has to be some crazy trade. And I'm talking Drummond is effectively the only piece that I feel at the moment could help the Lakers in that sort of sense. Bringing Boogie on a vet's contract, I feel like would be a good rotation. You can get rid of. I'm not a fan of Gasol. One of the Morris twins, whichever one it is. You've got pieces to trade away. Go and get yourself a great defensive scorer, someone that can hit threes, a better version of KCP, a perimeter defender who will go and score as well. Get that, trade away some of the guards you've got sitting on your bench. Lower your roster, because at the moment Lakers have got a lot of pieces that don't really amount to much, but 4 times 0.25 is the same as 2 times a half. Like, it's trade away those and bring in something bigger, because you go for roster. Don't go for roster. Sorry, go for a team. Go for 8 players.
I agree, and Corey, completely agree with you. And I also think when you get into the playoffs, we see it all every year. Bob the bubble, that was an anomaly, but you see finals and playoff runs, it's 8-man rotation, 9-man rotation, and those are they're short minutes unless you are an actual star coming off the bench. I would like to see. I agree with you, and I think unfortunately LeBron's fallen into the category of he's old. So do we go? Is they old players that want to go play with LeBron and know they can help him, and are those old players that are good enough? Or are they young players that know, funny enough, their ego won't match with LeBron because he's still LeBron James and AD's there. I would like to see 2 things for LeBron and the Lakers. I would like them to go and get Kevin Love in terms of what you get as I'm not saying he's a game changer, but what you get in terms of he's an option for a corner 3, that sort of thing. I also think what they're missing.
JP's favourite word. He's a facilitator, isn't he? Like, whatever you need Kevin Love to do, he'll go and do it, and he'll give you everything whilst he does it.
And LeBron knows what he's going to get from him. What I also think they miss, and normally LeBron James' team built this way, where they have the gritty guy that no one else likes. You look back at the Cavs team, they had J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert, who went out there, got you 4 fouls in 10 minutes, but they annoyed Steph, Deladova. You had those players, who you watch the game and go, what is he doing there? But then you're like, oh, actually, he's doing a job. I also think the third thing on me with the Lakers, they're at a point now where they've got some just above average players who you can't get anything better than. So Caruso, Kuzma, I think Wesley Matthews right now, and I'm a big fan of Matthews, the Morris twin. You have 4 players there. KCP, yes, KCP's a good player, and in the league, a good player. But when you go, is he better than Joe Harris? No.
He's not a better shooter, especially not this year. He's shooting 24% or something crazy this year.
I actually don't know where their upgrades come, because I don't know that those players are out in the league. I just think they're awkward position. And I also think their problem is they don't want to make that mistake of, we just got to get rid of KCP. It's that sort of Liverpool prime example right now. Funny enough, their front 3, Firmino, great player, good, really useful, but actually you should have cut your losses and go and get a centre forward who scores goals.
Would you say someone like Jarrett Allen would a trade for Jarrett Allen or something like that would be? I'm thinking pieces that are available. He's probably not necessarily available for a trade, or if he is, they're going to have to trade big because he's a future player. But I look at Jarrett Allen and go, I would like to see him on that Lakers team. That's a piece for me that goes, and also going back against Brooklyn and saying you traded me away. There's that retribution. There's that story. Go and get someone like Jarrett Allen.
My other player, and I think this guy fits lots of brackets and he's underrated, is Jeremy Grant over at Detroit, because what he did with Denver last year, he also showed LeBron, I'm a decent player. I'm worth my money. And I think that's a good fit because he's a lengthy 4/3 who shoots the ball well, defends well, and can take the game away from you in a couple of minutes because of his energy. And I think that's what the Lakers are missing. JP, what's your thought on the LA Lakers?
Well, if we go back to the original point of what I'm liking to see in this second half of this season, I'm in agreement. The only narrative here is that the Space Jam movie has come to real life. You've got the monsters.
That is a fantastic point. That is a great point.
This is the only narrative that is going on in the NBA right now. Realistically, in terms of trade talks, it looks like Hassan Whiteside might even be one that they want to take, but I don't think he. We mentioned him previously, and I was up for it at the time. I'm looking back at it now, and it's just I don't see it working. Jarrett Allen, I think the Cavs are really high on him. I don't think that they'll let him go for cheap. So I don't think that the Lakers have the assets which the Cavs will want for him.
No, especially not as with the Drummond's going away as well. Like they're not going to get rid of both their bigs, are they? Like,
yeah. So in terms
And
of
they got 10 bigs over there, mate. They don't care how many they've got. I mean, I'm signed as a big. They could start a 5 with a big. They got Larry Nance Jr., big. Kevin Love, big. Andre Drummond, big. JaVale McGee, big. Jarrett Allen, big. That's ridiculous.
I would honestly. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like him, but I liked what McGee brought to Lakers last year.
Yeah, there's talk of him coming back, and
I think that'd be a good trade. And he came on and started, and he showed like the rotation between him and Howard.
Right.
It was great. But I feel like the narrative of the NBA has completely switched from this time last year. From it was LeBron's Lakers, they were destined for a chip that year, and everyone looked at. I think when everyone played against LeBron, it was like a testament, as if to say, "Take me, like, get me a trade. I'm going to ball out on you." Everyone tried so hard, get me a trade, get me into your team. This year, I don't look at that Brooklyn team and think the same, but I don't also think it's the same in terms of what people wanting to play for the Lakers this year.
Yeah. I'd like to see Drummond go there. That would be, I think that would highlight the narrative and it would push it more. But I think the only thing I can add to that narrative is the fact that this is testament, as Corey mentioned, to LeBron. This is what you need to do in order to beat LeBron, and that just shows the kind of player he is. You need to put a team that's going to be, Hall of Famers, potentially these 5 could possibly be in the Hall of Fame. But then you've also got the narrative. If this goes wrong, then they're rejects in the sense that, they are the modern day Charles Barkley. They are the modern day. Allen
See, I don't see that. I see it the other way. I see if LeBron and the Lakers take on this team, not the Lakers, if LeBron takes on this team, LeBron is the greatest of all time. There is no other discussions.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There's no other discussions.
But then I'm on about in terms of the Nets. So their squad will go down in history and be like, you should have won it, but you didn't. And as we touched upon in this episode earlier, that they're going to be like the modern day Allen Iverson and Charles Barkley. But I think this is just a testament to LeBron, really.
I agree.
A quick one to take it away. The NBA isn't 2 teams. So I said about Clippers and Jazz and stuff like that. My predictions for the rest of the season, Jazz are slightly going to fall off. They're still going to be up there seeded, but I think they're going to fall off. There's no way they could continue everything they're doing. Defensively, at some point, they've got to give. You've started to see it recently over the past couple of weeks where teams are scoring more and more on them and stuff like that, and they've lost a couple. I feel like Clippers, with the Lakers looking so depleted and stuff at the moment, I feel like if the Clippers are going to improve at some point this season, and I have a feeling Clippers are going to give a good run at first seed this season, and I reckon it's going to be a top 3 of. In all fairness, I reckon Clippers might come top. That's my prediction for the end of the season.
I see it actually, and I think that's why I backed them in a Bucks game, because I actually think the way they were playing was coming together. I like your prediction in that shout. I think what I want to see with Utah is Donovan Mitchell. Are you that good? And I like Donovan Mitchell, but I don't want to see a nicely nice commercial Donovan Mitchell. I want to see Donovan Mitchell who goes, do you know what? I'm fed up of doing all the talking. I want you to come watch me. And that's what I want from Donovan Mitchell. I also want to see, I want to see Philly. I like Philly, and I want to see how they sort of improve. I like the look of what Ben Simmons is doing over there as a modern day Rajon Rondo.
They've got a good little roster as well. Like they've got a nice
the
rotation, and something's going on there, and no one's old.
No, what I like over there is I think, funny enough, we'll sit back if they get to the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll sit back and go, "Oh, they're underdogs," but actually, are they? And they've got that caveat of if they don't win it this year, that's not on them. There isn't the narrative of their start. So it's a good year for them. I'm just going to throw some names out, and you don't have to sort of say anything back. But in terms of pieces I would like to see moved in this before the trade deadline, Brad Beal. I know this is blasphemy down at Washington, but Brad Beal definitely one. Yeah, dropped him in there. I didn't say his name. Stop British. Tender. Brad Beal, I think he'd be a nice, and I would go all in. I would get rid of as many pieces I needed to. Another guy I would go all in on, and I'm not a fan, is Zach LaVine. And this is for teams wanting to show Brooklyn, yeah, we're about this. And then my third guy is, I also think, especially with LeBron, the name, he's always missed a name. It doesn't matter the ability. And I think there's two names that I think if LeBron gets, Brooklyn gets scared. One being Russell Westbrook. Granted, his game doesn't really suit them, but I think that name, and the second name is Victor Oladipo. Okay? What Vic can do as a defender, as a shot maker, and as a scorer, LeBron has never had as a third option. Yes, he had Kyrie, but as a third option, I'd like to see that. And I know there's talks of him coming out of Houston. And Houston are looking to rebuild. If I'm Houston, I'd accept a Kuzma Caruso trade for Victor Oladipo. But I would like to see that as an option. I'm not saying you guys have to comment on that. We can sort of, when the trade deadline comes up, we do our episode based on the trade deadline and what we really want to see. We'll hone in on those. But that sort of brings us to the end of the main topic. Just before we go off, our segment where we then get to preview and we pick our picks and we spend all weekend texting each other because no one wants to have the L. So, JP, this is over to you. Just want to give you an update on the scores. Funny enough, when I did the picture, I never really imagined us needing that many basketballs, so I've had to minimise them. So, just to give you scores, Wayne is taking the lead with 8.
Is this the important bit? We can move on with
that. I'm in second with 7. JP's rocking with 6. And Corey down there with 4 W's. And considering last weekend, there was a possibility of 6. So, JP, over to you.
I've felt for Corey this week. I'm trying to give him some sympathy with these 2 games. So, you know, maybe we all pick the same team, but it's to try and help Corey out in some sort of way. And the first matchup is going to be the Nets against the Celtics. I'm hoping Tom goes a bit biased here and picks his own team. But I'm ready to see this small ball lineup of the addition with Blake Griffin against the Celtics, and I think when it comes to fruition, I think the Nets will win, and you know I think you know everyone's talking about being scared of the Nets, but we'll actually see it in fruition, and the realism of it will come to life, and we will actually be scared of what the Nets can bring to this second part of the season.
Corey, going to you. Who's your pick?
So there's the obvious answer. This weekend, right, for the last few weeks, I've gone, I'm going to think outside the box. I've been wrong. So I got to All-Star weekend and I went, no, I'm going to put myself back in my lane. I'm not going to think outside the box. I'm going to do this and this and this. And I took serious L's. Do I go back outside the box? No, I'm going Nets.
JP, I want to take Wayne's one here before I go into mine.
He's gone with the Nets.
All right. So this, you can call it what you want. All right.
Here we go. This is where
I'm going to draw your attention to a couple of things. The Miami Big Three lost their opening game in Boston. Okay. So Big Three that was created and everyone was scared of lost their first game together. I'm going to throw you in the LA Lakers, LeBron, AD, lost their first game against the Clippers. I am going to go with the Brooklyn Nets. This dominant 4 will lose their first game as a group against Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, who's coming off a nice weekend. The Boston Celtics will beat Brooklyn Nets in a close one.
You know I'm thinking this as well. It's going to be like a 230-point game. There's going to be points in this game. I reckon Jason Tatum's going to go off. Jaylen Brown's going to drop 30 to 35.
My biggest reason for this is there is no Kevin Durant. Okay, and that you had Kevin Durant in this. I'm going Brooklyn. There's no KD. I'm going Boston Celtics. So that's 3 for the Brooklyn Nets and me with a W with Boston Celtics. JP.
The second game is going to be the Lakers against the Pacers. Now,
That's not an easy game.
I knew you were going to pick this one. Normally, when we have our chat, I go through the fixtures and I go, what might he do? And I looked at this one, I knew you were going to pick this one.
So coming off the back of the All-Star game, I think that LeBron's going to be energized, especially after seeing on that night that, the Nets just picked up Blake. And I think the narrative is going to be, watch out, Brooklyn Nets, because LeBron is still about. LeBron is going to prove to them, all right, you've added you've added Blake Griffin, but who cares? Because I don't. I'm going to show you what I can still bring to the table. And LeBron is going to put up 35 points against the Indiana Pacers in a W.
So you're going LeBron.
Yes.
Not the Lakers, we're going LeBron. The Los Angeles LeBron.
It's just LeBron.
I'm going to jump in here. So just striding through the fixtures as I talk, I think it's a hell of a game. First of all, it's a great game. I can't bet against the King. Can't believe I ever do. So LeBron James is going to win that. And my reason for, and I hope this doesn't screw your head up, Corey, Indiana Pacers that weekend go back to back. The next night they play in Phoenix. 2 nights later, they play Denver. Where are Indiana Pacers thinking, where do our shorter minutes come in? I think your shorter minutes come in against LA. You go full blood at Denver, you go full blood at Phoenix. So just want to throw it out there. I'm going.
There's
LeBron
no question
James.
about the full blood at Phoenix. There's no question about that. Lakers are so depleted. Their pieces aren't playing well at the moment.
Like, so just chalk up an L already.
They're not playing well. The players that carried them through games last year is in KCP picking up 10 to 15, a few quick threes and stuff like that. That's not happening for him this year.
Do you want Wayne's pick before you make yours?
We'll go Wayne's pick.
I know what I'm picking.
Wayne's gone with LA.
Yeah, I was.
Funny enough, I'm making notes
with LA.
here. I've already got Wayne's name down. Who are you going, Corey?
I'm going LA.
So it's a full house for the LA Lakers. No love for Indiana.
The thing is, this is going to be one of these games I bet on.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm telling you now, Sabonis and Miles Turner are going to have a big game because they've got Marc Gasol guarding them.
Essentially. I do see that happening. But then I also see the other end.
That's the only thing. LeBron is outweighing the bonus for me.
If Schroeder's back, fit and healthy, if LeBron's on his A game after having a few days off with the All-Star break, I just don't see how LeBron coming out of a break you can go against him.
No, and I felt LeBron's moment on Sunday was like a superhero. You know, when they go back into like a cryogenic chamber just to relax. That was LeBron's moment on Sunday at halftime when he sat down and you went, oh no, he's ready for the rest of the season. And I can't bet against the King. I can't wait for all of us to go 1-1. One win, one loss, because Boston are going to take the W early. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to go 2-0. I will go 2-0 this week because of Boston and LA. I'm telling you now, we're going to watch it here. Brooklyn Nets are going to play well, but I think Brooklyn, Jason Tatum and Brown, and then Kemba is going to dominate. That's my. You
know what I'm betting on?
Yeah.
I'm betting Celtics and Pacers.
Yeah. Just to help you out, is that just to make you feel better one way?
Nah. Because I'm taking the easy cop out option. If I lose here, we all lose basically. Because that's what I'm doing.
He's wasting money that he could spend on us. Do you know what I mean?
No, the thing is, you're thinking about this now. You guys are like, haha, let's look at Corey. Let's pick games. Doesn't make it easier for me. I'd rather you pick a game that's 50-50 and we're divided, because that way someone's taken an L. At the moment, there's only one winner this weekend, and it's Tom if the Celtics win.
No, the thing is,
the other game's right. Whatever game I would have picked, you would have been like, that's a tough one. Because in your head, and in your heart, you want something else.
The thing is, Corey currently has to hunt JP.
Exactly.
He's the person above him. So you look at it, he's JP. If you're going to lose, Corey's going to lose. Corey wins, you don't win. So he's not going to gain. He has to go with you.
Yeah, that's why it's not easy. But I actually genuinely believe that the Celtics are going to limit the Nets. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a 120-point game that we've been seeing from the Nets. I reckon they're going to limit them, and you can't guard Jaylen Brown for starters. It's hard enough.
Has anyone
guarding
ever
Tatum.
seen someone really have a dilemma physically?
Like I'm literally physically unwinding, and you lot are seeing it right now.
This is the only time. If anyone wants to tune into this episode, all you need to see is like the last 10 minutes of Corey just.
I've just watched JP put his picks out on my head. Go. Yeah.
The whole time you saw that.
Yeah.
So guys. So we're definitely going to pay attention to those games. I know the Boston Brooklyn one is Thursday night or like Friday morning because of England, and it's ridiculous to watch any basketball without. If you don't have a job. It's ridiculous. It's easy. If you have a job, it's ridiculous to do. And then I think Friday night, Saturday morning is the Indiana Pacers at Lakers. And I know we'll be chatting the whole way through and waking up in the morning to see what's going on. Boys, thanks for coming on this week. I know it's been a difficult, busy week for all. And we had our busy week last week with 2 sessions. So thanks again for dropping by. Next time you guys want to sort of wear the same outfit, let me know and I could probably join in. Just felt a bit bad having you guys having the same. It's little and large. I'm not sure who's got what, but
it's a big line. This is.
This is, mate. That's a big XL, isn't it? You got. Corey's must have shrunk in the wash. So
medium.
When were you last a medium? You must have been 10 when you were a
2004.
All right, boys. I hope you have a good week. Catch up with you guys over the weekend, and hope everything's going well. See you later.